Marcus wiped the tears from his 8-year-old daughter's face as she clung to his worn flannel shirt, her small voice breaking his heart for the third time that week. "Daddy, why can't I have new shoes like the other kids? Mine have holes and everyone laughs at me." He knelt down to her level in their cramped studio apartment, the weight of unpaid bills scattered across the kitchen table pressing down on his shoulders like a physical burden. "Baby girl, I promise you, things are going to get better. Daddy's got an interview tomorrow for a job that pays real good money." What he didn't tell her was that it was his last hope. The rent was 2 months behind, the electricity notice was final, and his pride had long since been sacrificed on the altar of single parenthood. The Meridian Tower stretched 43 floors into the Seattle sky, its glass facade reflecting a world Marcus had never been part of. At 5:47 a.m., he stood in the pristine marble lobby, clutching a crumpled job posting for a night janitor position that had seen 12 people quit in the past 6 months. The security guard barely glanced up as Marcus signed in. "Just another invisible person in a building full of invisible people. You sure you want this job, buddy?" asked Tony, the departing janitor, as he handed over a ring of keys that felt heavier than they should. "The 38th floor. There's something about that floor. The CEO works up there. Richard Blackstone. Man's colder than January rain, and twice as miserable. He stays late most nights, and well, let's just say he don't take kindly to interruptions. Last guy lasted 2 weeks before he walked out mid-shift." Marcus nodded, tucking the keys into his pocket. "I need this job, man. My daughter needs me to make this work." Tony's expression softened with understanding, the look of one struggling father recognizing another. The first night, Marcus learned the building's rhythm. Floors 1 through 20 were standard office cleaning, empty desks, conference rooms that smelled of stale coffee and broken dreams. Floors 21 through 37 buzzed with the quiet hum of servers and security systems. But the 38th floor was different. It was a tomb of mahogany and marble, where the air itself seemed to hold its breath. Richard Blackstone's corner office took up a quarter of the floor, its walls lined with awards, diplomas, and photographs of a man who had clearly forgotten how to smile. Marcus had been warned to clean around the CEO if he was working late, to be invisible, to never speak unless spoken to. But as he emptied trash cans and vacuumed carpets, he couldn't help but notice the man hunched over his desk at 11 p.m., surrounded by empty coffee cups and the ghostly glow of multiple computer screens. For 3 weeks, they existed in parallel universes, the janitor and the CEO, separated by an invisible wall of class and circumstance. Marcus cleaned quietly, efficiently, leaving no trace of his presence except for the faint scent of pine cleaner and the whisper of well-maintained floors. Richard barely acknowledged his existence, which was exactly how both men preferred it. Then came the night that changed everything. Marcus arrived on the 38th floor to find Richard Blackstone slumped in his chair, his normally perfect silver hair disheveled, his expensive suit wrinkled like a discarded newspaper. Empty whiskey bottles lined the credenza, and scattered across his desk were photographs, a woman with kind eyes, and a little boy with Richard's same stubborn chin. "Sir," Marcus ventured, his voice barely above a whisper. "You okay?" Richard's head snapped up, his eyes bloodshot and unfocused. "What day is it?" he asked, his voice hoarse. "Thursday, sir." "Well, technically Friday morning now." Richard laughed, but it was the sound of something breaking. 5 years, he said to no one in particular. 5 years ago today, I lost everything that mattered. His gaze fell on the photographs, and Marcus saw something he never expected to see in the CEO's eyes. Raw, devastating pain, against every instinct screaming at him to stay invisible. Marcus approached the desk. "Mind if I ask what happened?" "Car accident," Richard said simply. "My wife Sarah and my son Tommy. I was supposed to be in the car with them, but I had a meeting. Always had a damn meeting." He picked up one of the photographs, his hands trembling slightly. Tommy was 7. He loved dinosaurs and wanted to be a paleontologist. Sarah used to say he got his curiosity from me, but his kindness from her. Marcus felt his throat tighten. "I have a daughter. She's 8. Can't imagine." "Don't." Richard's voice was sharp, then immediately softened. "Don't imagine it, because once you do, it never leaves you." He gestured to the empty bottles. "This is what I've become. A man who builds empires but can't build a life worth living without asking permission." Marcus began clearing away the bottles and straightening the scattered papers. "My Emma. She's everything to me too. Her mom left when she was 3. Said she didn't sign up for the responsibility. Been just the two of us ever since, Emma. Richard repeated. Pretty name. She's pretty smart too. Gets straight A's, even though we don't have much. She wants to be a teacher because she says teachers help kids learn to dream. Marcus paused in his cleaning. Sometimes I worry I'm holding her back, you know? All the things I can't give her. Richard studied Marcus with new attention. How long have you been working here? 3 weeks. Before that, I was washing dishes at a diner downtown. Before that, stocking shelves at a grocery store. Always something, but never enough. For the first time in 5 years, Richard Blackstone really looked at another human being. He saw the careful patches on Marcus's work clothes, the way the man's hands bore the calluses of hard labor, the quiet dignity of someone who had never stopped fighting for his family despite impossible odds. What's your daughter's biggest dream? Richard asked. Marcus smiled for the first time that night. She wants to go to college, talks about it all the time, says she's going to study education and child psychology, help kids who come from places like where we come from. She's got this notebook where she writes down all her plans, what college she wants to attend, what kind of classroom she wants to have. She even drew pictures of herself in a cap and gown. Something shifted in Richard's chest, a feeling he hadn't experienced since the accident. Hope, fragile as a bird's wing, but undeniably present. Marcus, Richard said, and it was the first time he'd used the janitor's name. How would you like to help me with a project? Over the following weeks, Richard began staying later not to lose himself in work, but to talk with Marcus. The janitor possessed something the CEO had lost, the ability to see possibility in the face of adversity, to find joy in small moments, to believe that tomorrow could be better than today. Marcus told Richard about Emma's school science fair project, how she was building a volcano with materials they'd scrounged from around their apartment building. Richard found himself thinking about Tommy's abandoned dinosaur collection, still untouched in his home office, and wondered what his son would have created for a science fair. You know, Richard said one night as Marcus cleaned around his desk, this company has a foundation. We give scholarships to underprivileged kids, but I haven't been involved in the selection process in years. Maybe you could help me review some applications. Marcus looked up from his mopping. Sir, I don't think I'm qualified for that kind of thing. You're more qualified than you know, Richard replied. You understand what these kids are facing because you've faced it yourself. You know what it means to dream when the world tells you to give up. As winter melted into spring, the 38th floor transformed. Richard started leaving earlier to attend Emma's school events, something Marcus had mentioned he often missed due to his work schedule. In return, Marcus helped Richard sort through 5 years of accumulated grief and guilt, not with therapy or professional counseling, but with the simple act of listening without judgment. The breakthrough came on a rainy Tuesday in April. Richard arrived at work to find a hand-drawn card on his desk, a crayon drawing of a tall man in a suit shaking hands with a shorter man in work clothes. With "Thank you, Mr. Richard, for helping my daddy," written in careful 8-year-old handwriting. Richard called Marcus to his office immediately. She doesn't even know me. Why would she thank me? Because you gave her daddy hope, Marcus said simply. And when a parent has hope, kids can feel it. She's been sleeping better at night, singing more in the morning. Kids are smart. They know when the people they love are okay. That afternoon, Richard did something unprecedented. He left work early and drove to Emma's elementary school. He sat in the back row of a cramped auditorium and watched a little girl with pigtails and patched jeans present her volcano project with the confidence of someone who had never been told her dreams were too big. After the presentation, Richard approached Emma and her father. You must be Emma, he said, kneeling to her level the way he used to with Tommy. I'm Richard. I work with your dad. Emma's eyes went wide. You're Mr. Richard. Daddy talks about you all the time. He says you're really smart and really kind. Richard felt tears prick his eyes. When was the last time someone had called him kind? Your daddy is one of the smartest, kindest people I know too. And you, young lady, gave the best volcano presentation I've ever seen. Really? Emma beamed. I wanted to make it extra good, because Daddy said you might come watch later. As they walked through the school parking lot, Richard turned